Welcome to Interesting Insights. Today I have with me the CEO and Chief Technology Officer of a company that is headquartered out of Omaha in Nebraska, a company called Valid Voice, and I'm here with Damian. Damian, welcome, and thank you for this time today. Can you just tell me very briefly about your company Valid Voice and what it's all about?
Valid Voice is a company that specializes in customer experience. So what we are about is helping our customers to improve customer experience while increasing security and reducing cost, which is really unattainable. In most environments, you can increase customer experience and maybe reduce security, but our focus is to actually attain all those three items, which is increase customer experience, reduce cost, and increase security at the same time.
Right. And my interest specifically is in when you told me about voice biometrics and what Valid Voice is doing in that space. It was really interesting for me. So can you just elaborate a little bit more about voice biometrics and that part of your business?
Absolutely. So when you look at customer experience, you got to look at how companies interact with their customers. And if you imagine you go to a bank or you go to your phone company, when you show up in person at one of their storefronts or shop fronts, they ask you for a driving license or some form of ID. If you call their contact center, they go through a bunch of challenge questions. If you actually want to log into their portal or a web app, they actually ask you for a password. So our focus has been, how can we eliminate these multiple ways of authenticating a user? Because that multiple ways make sure that the user has to manage the complexity of identifying themselves depending on the channel they're actually communicating from. So what we looked at all the available biometrics out in the market, whether it is fingerprint, facial recognition, retina scanning, and voice, of course. And what we found is that when you look at things like fingerprint, retina scanning, facial recognition, they work on some channels. So for example, you can use a fingerprint to access a portal. You can use facial recognition to access a portal. And you may be able to use those technologies in a face-to-face interaction. However, when you get on the phone, those technologies don't work. So what we went out doing is we went out to look for a biometric that actually can work across all those channels, and we found voice to be it. Now, one of the things about voice is that voice biometrics traditionally has required anywhere from 8 to 20 seconds of speech to do the verification, which made sure that voice also was not the best option across all those channels. But one of the things that Valid Voice has been able to achieve is we have a patented technology that allows us to make that decision in 2 seconds. And that means that we can now use a voice biometric, a person's voice, a unique signature of a person's voice to identify them across all those channels, whether it is a portal, whether it is a website, whether it is a face-to-face interaction or over the phone within a 2-second window. So that makes it faster than you typing a user ID and a password, or actually having to remember anything, because basically you start speaking and the system will identify who you are and confirm your identity.
Right. How secure is voice identification? Are there any threats? Can the system be hacked?
Well, one of the unique things that we found through our research, in our R&D process, is that all humans' voices actually have a common region within the spectrum, within the sound spectrum. But also every individual has some parts that are outside of that common spectrum, which makes them unique. So what we do when we build our voice prints, which is the actual data stored, which is the vector file that we store in our system, we remove that common segment of the voice, of the sound spectrum out of that file.
Okay.
So what we're storing is we're only storing the unique characteristics about that individual's voice. But because we're only storing the unique characteristics, there's not enough information in that file to ever be able to reverse engineer a voice out of it. Okay. So if you can imagine a wave pattern, and if you remove the whole center part of the wave pattern and just work on the ones that are outside of that common region, that is all we are storing. So therefore, there is not enough information in that vector file to rebuild a voice. So you can't resynthesize a voice out of a vector file.
Okay, that's really cool. So without giving too much away about what Valid Voice is doing in this area, can you just tell me where you see the most value that your company can bring from a solution point of view are there any specific industries or any specific applications, or is it something generic that can be applied to any type of application and industry?
Well, at a high level, it's a very generic solution that can go into any application or industry. But if you have a look at today's market, you see that companies are spending lots of money building moats around their security, right? They're building higher walls, there's more firewalls, there's all this stuff going on. But what they are missing is that the intruders have the key to the front door. And here's what I mean. If you're asking your employees, your customers to bring in a token, remember a password, or whatever piece of equipment they're using today to gain access, whether it's physical access or virtual access, all you know when you provide that access is that that piece of equipment or that password was actually used. So therefore, you really don't know who is behind that thing, but you only know that that piece of information has been used to actually gain access. Using a biometrics ensures that not only is the right information provided, but you also know it's the actual right person that actually got in the door. So for example, let me give you this example. If you go into a secure facility and swipe a token or a proximity card to get access, all the system knows is that the proximity card was at the door. You have no idea who was holding that proximity card. Using a biometric eliminates that lack of knowledge as to who used that proximity card, because the biometrics guarantees that the person that used the access control system was the actual person that was allowed to get through the system.
Yeah. So you can virtually apply this to any application as far as the security authentication part of it is concerned. You're looking at a scenario where this is frictionless. It's gives you great authentication, and from an end user perspective, I guess it's very quick, and you get authorized really fast. And to me, I'm kind of thinking, maybe in years to come, this type of technology will eliminate the keyboard and the mouse completely, and that's something really exciting. So Damian, I want to thank you for the time that you've spent today. I wish you all the best for what you are doing in the US, and I'm looking forward to working with you here in Australia to unearth some of the opportunities across the multiple industries that we work across as well. So all the best, and thanks very much for your time.
All right, thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
No worries.